Welcome back to Whole Goals. My name is Andrew Love and I am the founder. In today's video, we're going to get into intuitive parenting, how you can use your spirit and your spirituality to infuse power and clarity into parenting, because most of us have dual lives. We have our spiritual life and then we have our real life, like the real stuff that happens. But if you know how to infuse your real life with a strong sense of clarity, spiritual connection, all this good stuff, you will be able to make great decisions and end up having a magical time doing things that most people might be stressed out doing. So let's get into it. So on the topic of parenting, to be honest, I could go many different directions with this, with spirituality and parenting. And I will. I'll make many videos. But the problem is, I just made a video last week that was 30 minutes and I was like, this is gross. That's way too long. I want to make shorter videos. So I want to break these ideas up into bite sizes so that you can actually take them and apply them in your life, run with them, make them your own, but to experience results much quicker. When we go about our lives, we end up doing a lot of stuff. We get lost in the doing of things. I gotta do this, I gotta do this, right? You have your morning stuff that you have to do, your daytime stuff, your evening stuff, and it's really a hustle. It's a grind sometimes because you just have this long list of to-dos. The problem with that is our spirit is usually asleep in the corner somewhere, completely disengaged with what we're doing. It's all our brain and our body. Our heart's usually not in it and our spirit's not in it. And if you know Whole Goals, it's all about the harmony of your mind, heart, body, and spirit. And when you have harmony and these things are together working in the same direction, on the same project, that's when you experience the most joy, the most freedom, the most power, the best ideas will come to you. You just have more power. You become superhuman when you are a harmonious being. And when you're disjointed, you could be mentally stimulated, but if your heart's not in it, you're not going to quite feel right. So we want to align these things in every single action throughout our day. That's the challenge. And when you have kids, you throw kids into this mix, they're just like wrenches in all of your plans and all of your schedules. I know so many parents, it's so stressful just to get out of the house. If you just want to go to the grocery store, you just want to go on a drive, whatever the case may be, just to get the kids in their stinking shoes, just out the door without some drama, especially if you have multiple ages who are all coping with life in different ways, different egos, different personalities. People management can be very stressful. And if you've seen my work, you know that I am very clear that you cannot be fully emotional and fully rational at the same time. You don't have access to good thoughts and ideas when you're stressed out, when you're angry, when you're filled with anger, when you're depressed. You're not at your best. And there's a survival mechanism there because you're just in basically a state of fight or flight where your body's just trying to preserve itself. Your whole body is kind of teaming up to save yourself because it thinks you're in danger. But if you think about stress and you apply this model to stress, then if you're stressed, it means that you're not having great ideas. It means that you're not leading clearly your family. You're not connecting with your wife. You're not connecting with your kids. You're not connecting with all these ideas that are constantly swirling around you because you're just trying to get through life. And in that state, your intuition is completely garbled. It's like having a GPS with really bad Wi-Fi signal because you're lost deep in the countryside and you have no idea where to go. This is super important during regular times, but especially during crucial moments in a family's life. So for instance, if there's a sickness in the family, if you're traveling and there's some sort of difficulty in traveling, there needs to be a guiding force. There needs to be somebody who can connect with intuition to really clearly guess and make strong decisions. So in my life, my family, we were actually out in Bali during the pandemic and everything was starting to shut down, and I had a lot of people reaching out to me saying, get off that island, you are gonna run out of food or everybody's gonna die on that island, you need to come back to home, you need to go back to America, you need to save yourself and all this. And I didn't know what to do because it was hard to really assess the scene. I was living in a very remote part of Bali. There wasn't a lot of information about what was going on in our area. I had other people giving me their opinions, but they weren't experiencing what I was experiencing. So I had to go deep inside. So I went on a prayer, what I call a prayer condition, where I just prayed for something very specifically. I meditated, twice a day to really get myself out of just my head, out of my senses, thinking like, oh, this is all that exists. I needed to get to a higher state, somewhere where I could see and interpret reality from a higher perspective. It's kind of like the eagle-eyed perspective of my situation rather than my thinking or somebody else's thinking about my situation. This is a very practical way in which I used intuition because I didn't know which way to go, one way or the other, to go back home immediately and panic, to stay and be cavalier, or what if I was being dangerous? I had 3 kids with me and my wife. We had to make sure that we were safe and that we were setting ourselves up for the long run. In the beginning of the lockdown, the worldwide lockdown, nobody knew what the next month was going to bring, how long this lockdown was going to last for. So I had to really go deep within and find a decision that made sense to me at a soul level. And what I mean by that is something that I could live with and really firmly plant my feet and say, this makes sense to me wholly, and I'm going to live with my decisions one way or another because it makes sense to all of me. So I had to consult my mind. There's rationality there. I had to consult my heart, which means thinking about my kids, thinking about my wife, thinking about the world at large, the people on the island that I was in. And I also had to connect with spirit, to God, to like, hey, past, present, future, like how's this going to shape up? Are we going to be okay? And also with my body, am I sick? Like, there's a sickness going around this world. And so this was a 2-week process, and there's so many things that were happening in Bali. Like, they tried to kick all of the foreigners off the island for 2 weeks, and in that case I again didn't panic. I went back into prayer. I took my wife and we prayed a lot. I meditated a lot. I really didn't let my irrational fears start to take over my decision-making process. I instead went inside and said, what's the best case scenario? What's the best move that I can make? You see, when you're stricken with fear, anxiety, doubt, depression, whatever negative emotion, then you will take the easiest thing to minimize the pain in that moment, which usually long term is a very bad decision. But if you can go deep down inside yourself, there's magic, because you're connecting to the timeless aspect of yourself. Your body's gonna die. We're all physically gonna die. But your mind, your spirit, this aspect of you is eternal. And if you connect with that, now you connect your spirit to whatever is out there, whatever you deeply believe in, then you can gain knowledge and wisdom that supersedes just your thinking and the information you can Google online. There's information that you can Google in your soul. There's no Google in the spiritual realm. There's no way. No. But you can search engine, what should I do now? And you can get much better feedback. And so what we ended up doing was we ended up staying. It was like the best year ever. We were one of a few thousand people stuck on the island, and we ended up, just having the time of our lives. And that would not have been possible if I went to panic mode, if I went into just my brain, if I trusted just my body. I had to go and let my heart and let my spirit guide my mind and guide my body. This is a big difference, is don't let your body and your reactions guide your spirit, because it's gonna tense up. It's gonna retract as a way of self-preservation. But if you go inward to the invisible stuff and you start connecting to that through prayer, meditation, and you let that inform your ideas, inform your body, it will follow suit in due time. So that's just one example, but I've really, because our family travels a lot, we don't do things normally, right? About educating our kids. We're starting a school. This is all intuition, because we didn't see any good schools out there. We've been homeschooling and all that while we're traveling. Instead, we're just gonna start a school here. We're gonna start a school in other countries too. We're gonna do a lot of stuff, but all this is through not just, what should I do? It's much more about connecting to spirit and your intuition. your gut instincts. And there's like gut in the moment. Okay, there's a lion coming. You have intuition in that moment. That's really hardwired. You know, there's a lot to that. But I'm more talking about intuition on a grander scale. Intuition in terms of your connection to the future, your connection to eternity. I can't say this enough. Take time out of every day to connect with that eternal part of yourself, and you will start to work out the muscle of your intuition. Intuition is this internal invisible muscle, and the more that it's exercised, the more access you have to clear decision making. If you just make a decision with your mind, or just based on, you know, a reaction, you will always second guess that and wonder, was this the right decision? When you make a decision from a deeper place within you, you don't second guess that decision. I did that with my wife. I used my intuition with my wife. To choose a spouse is a pretty big decision. I believe we're married for all of eternity, so I don't want to be stuck with somebody that I hate, right? So, but there's a lot of people out there, right? So I didn't just choose with my eyes, oh, she's good looking, which she is, but it wasn't just, you know, from my senses or from my thinking. It was from something much deeper. I did a lot of prayer and fasting and different things in order to be able to make a clear decision that I could live with. And I've never second guessed my relationship with my wife. So I hope that's helpful. In parenting, if you really want to be an effective parent and make decisions that will benefit your family in the moment, but more specifically in the long run, then you need to be able to find that quiet place within you to make decisions from there. And from there, you will be able to, you know, if there's a myriad of options, you'll be able to choose the option that makes the most sense for you. The other options stop being appealing, and honestly, it's this process of elimination, and it becomes very clear which decision you need to make. Whether you have the guts to make that decision is a whole nother video, but in order to eliminate all the other bad options or non-options and to be able to whittle it down to that one solid option, that's an internal thing that requires you to go deep within, not just the information that is coming in, but the information that you need to plug into through prayer, through meditation. So if you want to be a banging parent who really is satisfied with the job that you're doing with your kids, feeling connected to your kids, feeling like a strong, wise parent that's giving them more than just, you know, your ideas, but you're giving them the stuff that really matters, the gravitas of true wisdom, then you need to be able to connect to something deeper than just your mind. So I hope this was helpful. Please leave comments in below. How have you used intuition with parenting? The more that we do this, the more that we're gonna make good decisions and help our kids, and our kids will be the people that forge the future and make it a bright, beautiful future. See you in the next video.